Welcome to this new KSP video. So since our last video we have done a crew change on the space station. We brought our old crew home and installed a new one. After the old crew returned from the station, did we send them on holiday? No, we put them on the first ship to Mars. So this is the launch of our Mars rocket. It's exactly the same as our moon rocket because one of my subscribers told me it would have enough fuel to get to Mars and back. That turned out to be a complete lie, and what follows is the video record of Jeb, Bill and Bob's epic 18-year voyage to the Red Planet and home again. The flight starts off perfectly normally. We get to orbit on a single stage and we separate the first stage and return it to Earth, where it makes a perfect propulsive landing back at the Space Center. With that complete, the next job is for the second stage to blast us into an escape trajectory. And with that complete, we separate the second stage from the capsule and return the second stage back to the Space Center. Kind of a bouncy landing, but recovered all the same. With the capsule now orbiting the Sun, we plan our next burn towards Mars. And once we're in the gravity well, our descent to the Red Planet begins. A successful landing with one problem: we don't have enough fuel to get home. So we build an unmanned tanker, which is adapted from our moonship, and we send it to Mars. The tanker has parachutes, so it will use less fuel on landing, and a capsule because I wasn't sure if I was going to transfer the fuel to the crew vehicle or just transfer the crew to this tanker and bring this home instead. The tanker lands near our crewed vehicle, but it doesn't land upright, so the plan is to transfer the fuel from the tanker to the crew vehicle and then go home in our crew vehicle. So if we look at the crew vehicle here, the lander, we can see that it has basically no fuel. And if we look at our tanker, we can see that it has some fuel in it, which will at least get us back to orbit. So we transfer the tanker fuel into our crew vehicle and attempt to head for orbit. So we make it off the surface and circularize into an orbit. But that uses all of our fuel, so we leave the crew in orbit and we build a rescue ship. This ship will head to Martian orbit. It will dock with our crew vehicle, the crew will transfer into it, and then this vehicle will return home. Just like with the tanker, we're not going to recover the first and second stages of a rescue vehicle. We're going to use all the fuel in the first and second stages in order to preserve as much fuel as possible in our third stage so it can return to Earth with the crew. So as the rescue ship approaches Mars, we match the orbit to the current orbit of our crew vehicle. The rescue ship then approaches the crew vehicle and docks with it. With docking complete, we transfer the crew to the rescue vehicle and separate the rescue vehicle and start heading home. If you're wondering what happened to the tanker and the now empty original crew vehicle, we just blew them up because we don't need them anymore. You'll notice parachutes on the side of a rescue vehicle. This is because we don't know how much fuel we'll have when we get back to Earth, so we want to guarantee a soft landing. With our crew safely aboard the rescue vehicle in Martian orbit, we then perform a burn to get the vehicle into a solar orbit. The escape burn is successful and we end up in a solar orbit. The next problem is we don't have enough fuel to get from here to Earth. We use our remaining fuel to lower our solar orbit as much as possible, and we launch another rescue ship to bring the crew home from solar orbit. Rescue Ship 2 performs an escape burn and successfully enters solar orbit. We then perform a burn to match the orbit of Rescue Ship 2 to the orbit of the stranded Rescue Ship 1, which contains the crew. We dock the vehicles together and we transfer the crew to Rescue Ship 2. With that done, Rescue Ship 2 then undocks with the crew safely inside and heads for home. And of course we blow up the now abandoned Rescue Ship 1. Finally, the crew are in a vehicle with enough fuel to perform an insertion burn and return. And there it is, after 18 long years, it's time to go home. The next question is, can we land the vehicle safely? You'll want to watch this. We made it through the atmosphere, and what you can hear is me frantically trying to deploy the parachutes to get this thing upright. Of course, what I'd forgotten in my panic is that parachutes were going to deploy at 1,000 feet anyway. So the chutes deploy and stabilise the vehicle, but it really is cutting it fine. So there we go, after 18 years on their mission to Mars, Bill, Bob and Jeb finally make it home, and according to the game they're ready for duty. We'll keep them on the roster, but we won't use them again. Someone asked me how many kerbals I'd killed in the early days, and here is the list. Our next mission is to go and rescue our space station astronauts who have now been there for 18 years.